Hello everyone, I'm Tom Worth Jr. Welcome back to the channel. For the final time in 2024, I wanted to talk about a few things that we have to look forward to in 2025 and somewhat tongue-in-cheek, some of them, but some of them are very real. Let's start out with a tongue-in-cheek one, but it is kind of something to look forward to if it happens, possibly. And that is something I heard on an Economist podcast. Guy was talking about solar storms, that the likes of which we haven't seen since 1859, that there is a possibility of one next year. I don't know what he based it on, but he did mention that at that time there weren't really electronics in the world. Certainly not to the extent that we have them now, but it did melt down some of the telegraph infrastructure. And if we had such a storm this year, 165 years later, it would completely take out our communications in the world, most likely satellite based anyway, and some earth based stuff. So if you could imagine a world without Twitter, a world without Facebook, a world without Fox News able to reach us, of course, you wouldn't be able to see your favorite YouTubers, but that's okay. I think that would be a pretty good world where people just had to talk to each other and exist with each other directly and not have lies just spewed upon them all day, every day, and all night, every night. It would take, were such a solar storm to hit, just like the one that hit 165 years ago. So this is not something that's never happened before. It did happen, and I don't know how scientists measure these things, but one on that scale hitting today would cost trillions of dollars to rebuild these communications networks and these broadcast networks, these satellite networks. Trillions of dollars in several years to get it built back up. And a lot of good can happen, I think, if you have a few years of not filling people's heads with this nonsense. They'd have to go back to books. They'd have to go back to watching movies, I guess, maybe in the theaters. I don't know. Go back to talking to each other. You wouldn't be able to talk on phones, I guess. You'd have to talk to people in person. And I think that might be a good thing. If you ever go on vacation where there's just no internet connectivity, or maybe a family's house out at a lake or something, or in the mountains, or just a bad coverage area, you don't see people on their phones. They are forced to interact with each other, and it's pretty awesome. And for younger people, they don't have a concept of what kind of world that was, that many of us grew up in, the only kind of world that many of us knew. And I loved that world. I love this world too, but certainly you could say it does more harm than good sometimes. So that's one good thing that could happen in 2025 is the solar meltdown of all of our communications networks. Surveillance states would be really hindered. Places in like China, take your pick. So that would be a good thing too. Another thing that could be a good thing to look forward to in 2025 is these all the chickens coming home to roost with all of Trump's lies and all of Elon Musk's lies. This would be a good thing, and this is something that will happen, I do believe, and something that is already happening, because 2 years from now, the consequences at the ballot box will be very real. I'm sure many of you, it's hard to escape the coverage of Jimmy Carter's life with him passing away at age 100 the other day. And it's kind of weird, it's kind of freaky, kind of creepy, the exact opposite existence and life and values that Jimmy Carter had versus Donald Trump. And what a world he left, the state that he left it in, compared to when he was president for 4 years. The guy was only that was 4 years of his 100 years on this earth, and he was president at a time when there. I mean, I don't see anyone with the ability to have done a good job with the circumstances he was faced with. That's not to say I think he could have been or would have been a good president. I don't know. I just believe that whoever was in office from January 1977 until January 1981 was going to have a real hard time and a real struggle, and he certainly did. His style and his values, as laudable as they are and were not, and they didn't stand a chance back then. Right now, they still wouldn't stand a chance. That's not the kind of guy or girl, unfortunately, that Americans vote for to be their leader. And I don't know why that is, but it is. And when you look at what Jimmy Carter did after he was president, what he did for the next 40 some odd years of his life, and look at what Donald Trump did when he left office after being defeated after his first term in office. It's then the people wanted Donald Trump back. That's the crazy thing. If Jimmy Carter would have run again 4 years later against a second term of Ronald Reagan, we all know how that would have went. But that's just a commentary on us, and I do love, like, I do think we as a country are going to get what we deserve, as painful as that is to say. Many of us tried like hell to avoid this circumstance, but as a nation, I think we get what we deserve. And I think with Trump and Musk and Steve Bannon running things, I think that's what we deserve right now. There were many of us that don't deserve this, but as a nation, this is what we demanded to have. And now this is what we will have. And I'm really looking forward to that. I'm hoping there is still a world 4 years from now. I'm hoping that Donald Trump doesn't have things rewritten like Putin did and like Xi Jinping did while they were the leaders of their country under constitutional rules and laws until they had their government just set them aside and rewrite those rules and laws. I'm hoping that doesn't happen. I don't think it will. But yeah, we deserve this, and I'm looking forward to seeing how this plays out. I'm not looking forward to the millions of us who will be suffering. I'm not looking forward to that at all, but I am looking forward to maybe as a nation, maybe people's eyes being opened to what Donald Trump really is and what he really does. And when you don't have anyone else to blame, you have everything. You have everyone in charge that you want in charge. You have both chambers of Congress. Okay, let's see what you can do. We know he's already backtracking on things. We know he's already saying prices don't come down once they're up, which is the exact opposite of what he said during the election cycle. Most of us knew better, but I'm looking forward to that. That's something in 2025 that I will love to see. On the AI front, I'm looking forward to actual advances. If you pay attention to AI, you will know that people use it for a lot of nonsense, just for conversational activities. And that's what the commercials show it for in many instances, like looking at you, Apple. But it's really being used by workers more so than by companies. The stats are a little out of whack. The percentage of companies that say AI is being used at their companies is far lower than the percentage of the people who work at those companies say that they are using AI for their jobs or in their jobs. So these are either unsanctioned activities or unofficial activities, whatever they are. There is kind of a grassroots clamoring for these AI tools, people figuring out how to use them to do their jobs better, whether that's writing computer code or just getting better at their jobs. Just maybe you have questions that you were afraid to ask or you didn't know who to ask. Well, you can ask these AI tools and you might not get a great answer, but at least it points you in the right direction. So I'm looking forward to what AI is going to be in 2025. I think we're going to see a lot more usefulness out of it. And the scientists and researchers and engineers who actually have been using real AI tools for a few years now, we should start to see some of the fruits of those endeavors, I think, in 2025 as well. Probably more in the form of product announcements than in actual shipping products, but that's just going to be pretty cool. As someone who is super into technology and I like to kind of live in the future, it's not been very interesting the last few years. Phones aren't interesting, computers aren't interesting. They're exactly the same. They're all good enough. Your camera might be 15% better than the camera a year ago, but you can use a phone camera from 4 years ago, 5 years ago. It's totally fine. You're not really going to be able to see much of a difference there. Computers are exactly the same. They're just as thin. The batteries last just as long. Okay, they can do more computing, but they could already do enough computing for the vast majority of people. So things have stagnated on the technology front as far as consumer electronics go. Electric vehicles, the same thing. I do hope to see more promise for the future in 2025. Even if the things aren't actually here yet, just something to get excited about. That will be pretty cool. Looking forward to seeing Putin just go down, just lose. Like when Trump takes office, when he's inaugurated in the vaunted, I'll resolve this thing in 24 hours. If that doesn't happen, then what? That's what I'm looking forward to. With Putin, I heard that there's this guy, I just discovered his YouTube channel a few weeks ago. I don't remember his name. Got a weird name. Something with it's not Zohan, but it's just some geopolitics guy. And he's always just hiking around somewhere in New Zealand. I guess he lives there. So he's always outside and he'll talk about things. And he was mentioning the Russian fleet that has been in Syria is going to have to move. And that word on the street is it's going to go to Benghazi, to Libya. And that's terrible for that fleet because that can't do any repairs on the fleet. It can basically just house the ships there. It can just a place to get them out of Syria because Syria doesn't want them anymore supposedly. But the fleet would just sit there in port, just rusting, just not being kept up, not being maintained. They don't have the facilities there, and it would cost billions of dollars and years to build out those facilities there in Libya. And Russia doesn't have the time or the money to do that. So if things really do deteriorate with NATO over the next year, which they may, when Ukraine doesn't work out the way Putin wants it to, if hostilities break out, then Libya is within easy striking range of Italy and France. And those are some of the most capable ships in the Russian Navy. They can't have them up in the Black Sea because Ukrainian drones can take them out. I don't know. This is pretty cool, I think. So, I mean, that's kind of the most realistic thing. The thing I think would be most likely to happen is Russia really just going down in defeat in 2025. And 2024 set the stage for that with the continuing conflict in Ukraine and then how Syria just crumbled out from under them and they could do nothing to stop it. That's just another thing to look forward to. So I am seeing things that I am optimistic about, whether I'm kind of joking about it or whether it's because I'm a little schadenfreude on behalf of the people who voted for Trump, but also just real developments. I'm not going to talk about the things I talked about last night, or things that might be going wrong as we head into 2025. We all know what those are. But these are things that I think we can maybe look forward to. And as we end 2024 here, I wanted to thank everyone for discovering this channel, for helping me build it. And from that very first video, it just took off with like 20,000 views. And I think my most watched video was, my little photography channel from a few videos at the first couple months of the year. I might have had like 12 or 15 views on a video, and they were probably almost all family members. And it went from 13 subscribers to over 5,000. And I don't know, YouTube is good at helping us find like-minded people. And just as surely as you all found me, I found you all. And I found a few channels from some of my kind of frequent commenters, and I don't know, just you guys pointing me in certain directions, or sharing things, sharing thoughts, sharing videos, sharing articles, whatever it was. I just can't express how much I personally got out of this in 2024. Definitely slowed down here in kind of second half of November and then in December. And the YouTube algorithm hates that, but that's okay. I have a life, and I'll get back to posting on a regular schedule, probably on the daily basis, starting with yesterday. And, I'm not trying to affect any change here or an election here, but just trying to keep the community going, keep the relationships up with all of you, and stay interested, stay engaged, keep reminding people of things, and then me myself reading what you guys are writing in the comments to remind me of things. And I love how this works, and I just very much thank all of you guys for that. This is one of the highlights of 2024 for me, I think, is discovering what this could be. And I thank you all very much. And I wish you all a very happy new year and a happy 2025. And we will check back in with you later.